psychology on different topics, and today we will be discussing about parenting, emotional regulation, and about strategies that might help you to better cope with parenting. And there is a lot of science-based information on how to approach the kids and how to teach them healthy to better express their emotions, how to interact with people. I'm registered psychotherapist qualified in Ontario, and today we will be discussing about emotional regulation as a learned skill that children are not born with it, and they can develop it through relationships, and we can become the people who are modeling these relationships and helping them to develop healthy coping strategies for, for their future lives. And today you will learn how emotional regulation develops from infancy and through adolescence, and critical role of co-regulation, what disrupts healthy development, and I'll be using solution-focused approach, strategies, questions using this approach, and I will be talking about emotional coaching developed by John Gottman's evidence-based approach, and 4 practical tools for parents and caregivers. Emotional regulation doesn't start as a solo skill, it starts as a shared one. And in infancy, in babies, they have no capacity to regulate their emotions independently, and they are entirely dependent on caregivers for regulation. Electronic still face experiment beautifully illustrates this. A mother interacts warmly with her infant, and the baby is engaged and happy, and then the mother is asked to go still, completely neutral, no response, and within seconds infant shows distress. It reaches out, tries to re-engage, and when mother returns, the baby recovers with supportive co-regulation. So what this shows that infant's nervous system is really literally regulated by the caregiver's nervous system. This is called co-regulation, and it's the foundation which all later self-regulation is built. And in early childhood, from ages 2 to 5, children are rapidly developing their emotional vocabulary and their capacity to manage emotional impulses. And this is at this age when they have strong feelings and limited breaks, the limbic system, emotional, is developing rapidly, and that's why for them it can be more challenging to regulate emotions until mid-20s. And research by John Gottman shows that parents who are emotionally coaching and helping the kids to understand their emotions, to express their emotions, and who help their children to name their feelings, validate them, are able to have more problem-solving skills and have significantly better mental health. Therefore, emotional regulation is important, and it's important to learn strategies that might help the people with parenting. And between ages 6 and 12, children can begin to use more sophisticated regulation strategies. They can use language to process emotions, they can use distractions intentionally, and they can seek support. But these skills need to be taught and modeled, and they don't emerge automatically. So what research shows matters most at this stage. Validation is important, being heard and understood by adults, and explicit teaching of emotion, vocabulary and regulation strategies, and modeling by adults, seeing adults regulating their own emotions is one of the most powerful teachers. And adolescence brings a perfect storm for emotion dysregulation. A fully developed limbic system is able to produce intense emotions, and prefrontal cortex still under construction. There are limited breaks, and surge of other hormones are in play, and an intense focus on peer relationships and social evaluation is important. So what disrupts development? As Linen's biosocial theory shows, that invalidating environment significantly disrupts the development of emotional regulation. So what does invalidation look like in practice? For instance, if a child constantly hears words such as stop crying, there is nothing to cry about, or you are too sensitive, don't be so dramatic, you shouldn't feel that way. Big kids don't get scared, and this kind of words might make the make the child or kids to feel invalidated. And these messages, even when well intentioned, they can have negative consequences on the children. And children who receive consistent invalidation learn to disrupt their emotional experience. They don't learn to regulate, and they start to suppress their emotions, to avoid their emotions, or not to show their emotions. As a result, it has a lot of negative impact on them. And research by Vincent Feitel and Robert Anda showed also that childhood adversity, including abuse, neglect, household dysfunction, significantly predicts mental health difficulties, physical health problems, relationship difficulties, and chronic emotional dysregulation. So early trauma changes developing nervous system and brain's chemistry. Amygdala becomes more hyperactive, and stress response system is calibrated to high threat, and the window of tolerance narrows, sometimes dramatically. Therefore, children who have experienced significant adversity aren't misbehaving, they are dysregulated, and they need co-regulation, not punishment, to heal. So, emerging concern, relationship between technology use and emotional regulation development. Jonathan Haidt's research about anxious generation shows that transition to smartphone-based childhood, particularly social media, is associated with significant increases in depression, anxiety, and emotional dysregulation, especially in girls. And proposed mechanisms include social comparison, cyberbullying, sleep disruption, displacement of face-to-face interactions, which is where co-regulation and social learning are happening. This doesn't mean that screens are purely harmful, but the dose, context, and what they are replacing matters enormously. John Gottman spent decades researching what parent-child emotional interactions predict long-term outcomes, and he found two strong approaches. First of them is emotion coaching has 5 steps. First of them is becoming aware of child's emotions, noticing when your child is experiencing an emotion, and don't wait for the meltdown. The second step is recognizing emotion as an opportunity to connect. For instance, when your child is upset, you can see it as a chance to connect and teach and to model the behavior that you want them to learn. Not an inconvenience, not a problem to be solved quickly. And third one is listening with empathy and validating their feelings, getting down in their level, making eye contact, reflecting back what you hear. For instance, you can say, "It looks like you are really upset," and helping the child find words to label their emotions. There are a lot of different graphs or images that you can find online also, which teach a lot of vocabulary about emotions, or pictures that might help, books that might help to teach the kids to better express their emotions. And you can ask, for instance, also by naming different emotions so that they can pick one. You can ask, are you feeling disappointed, frustrated, sad, scared? And in that sense, giving them the vocabulary that they can choose. And setting limits on behavior while exploring solutions. For instance, validating emotion while setting limits on behavior. You can say, "I understand you are furious, and hitting is not okay. Let's figure out another way and try to find another solutions for this challenge you are experiencing." And telling your child it's so hard to deal with you can land much heavier than it might seem. Children don't yet separate what they do from what they are, so they are likely to hear it as there is something wrong with you, rather than the situation is difficult. And depending on child and the moment, they might feel hurt or rejected. They might think, "I'm too much," or they might experience shame, "I'm bad," instead of "I made a mistake." And they might feel anxiety about losing approval or love, or they might feel angry or defensive, which can make behavior escalate. And they might feel confusion, especially if they don't understand what's wrong. So over time, repeated messages like that can chip away at their confidence or make them act out more or not less. So more helpful approach is to separate the child from the behavior and to show them what is expected, like to explain your rules and what is the expected behavior or what is the better behavior to cope in this situation. For instance, instead of saying you are so hard to deal with, you can try, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. I need you to speak calmly so I can understand, so I can hear you. Or another strategy can be, this behavior is making things hard. Let's figure out uh, a better way together. Do you have any suggestions? Or even just naming your feelings without blame what can work. For instance, saying, I'm feeling exhausted, I'm feeling frustrated, let's pause and try again. That does a few important things. First of all, it models emotional regulation. It keeps their sense of worth intact and gives them a clear path forward. If the moment is already heated, it can also help to come back later and repair. And you can say, earlier I said it's hard to deal with you. That wasn't fair. I was overwhelmed, but you are not the problem. Let's talk about what happened. So that kind of repair is powerful and efficient, and it teaches them that relationships can handle mistakes and still be safe and can be developed and get stronger. So this sequence, awareness, opportunity, empathy, labeling, setting limits, is what decades of research shows uh, build, uh, builds emotional intelligence and regulates children. And there are a lot of solution-focused strategies that can be used for everyday challenges. First of all, you can try shifting your attention from what's wrong to what's already working. Small steps that can make a big difference. This approach helps children to feel capable and parents feel less frustrated. You can try to notice small wins in your relationships during the day, noticing achievements, even small ones. For instance, you stayed focused for 10 minutes today. That's awesome. Over time, this builds confidence and motivations and also helps to encourage the child to act in that way. And setting micro steps instead of big goals. For instance, breaking tasks into smaller achievable pieces. So for instance, if you set rules for kids, setting these rules as clear as possible, as small as possible, instead of saying finish your homework or clean your room, you can try, can you write the first sentence of your story, can you clean your table, can you do your bed. So this creates momentum, and when they start doing this would help them to motivate. And asking your child what went well today, what were your accomplishments, and noticing small successes such as sharing a toy or helping set the table, helping both parent and child focus on positive patterns. And future focused questions, instead of saying, why did you fight with your friend or sibling, asking next time, what can we do to make playing together more fun, for instance. Skill building instead of punishment. Children often misbehave because they lack a skill, not because they are bad. And identifying skills to develop through playful strategies might help. And emotional regulation, helping children label and understand feeling. For instance, playing a feeling game, showing cards with faces and asking which faces show how you feel right now. And problem solving skills, creating mini challenges to practice skills. For instance, asking, can you take turns for 5 minutes with the toy? Praising attempts, not just success. Practicing empathy. You can use role play scenarios. If your friend is sad, what can you do? This develops social and emotional skills. Also, collaborative problem solving, identifying unresolved problems. For instance, what part of homework is hardest for you? And then creating a joint plan. Let's decide together how to start this homework. Can we do 5 problems first, then take a break? And executive functioning strategies. Again, breaking tasks into steps that we have mentioned, using visual reminders, timers, alarms, praising effort over results, planning games, and compassionate understanding. Behavior often stems from emotional needs or stress, focusing on curiosity, empathy, and connections, noticing emotional triggers. I see you get anxious when it's time to clean up toys. Can we figure out a way to make it easier? Or staying curious, what made this activity hard for you today? Empathy rituals, scheduling a day, for instance, 10-minute check-in where your child talks about feelings without interruption. So Gottman also identified opposite approach, emotional dismissing, and its long-term effects. Emotion dismissing, parents ignore or minimize emotions, quickly try to solve or fix or distract the child, believe that emotions should be controlled or hidden or shouldn't experienced, and see emotions as weaknesses. And children of emotional dismissing parents tend to have more difficulty regulating emotions. They can have lower self-esteem, have more behavioral problems, struggle more academically, and have worse peer relationships. And most emotion dismissing parents are not trying to harm their child, they just don't know the new strategies, and probably they have learned it from their environments, and without being aware they can be continuing this model and this behavior. So instead of analyzing everything that's going wrong, we look for moments that don't fit the problem pattern, and they are often easy to miss because they are small. For instance, maybe you listened for 20 seconds instead of interrupting. You softened your tone even when you were annoyed. And why this matters? Because those moments of exceptions when you were able to connect to better cope with a relationship, they are not accidents. They show that you already have resources and building blocks of the parent you want to be. And this idea comes directly from solution-focused parenting. You grow what's already working. For instance, you can use these questions to help yourself to understand what works. When was the last time when your child was upset and you handled it slightly better than usual? And what was different about you in that moment? How did you manage that? What was different about the situation? When was it? Your stress levels, your environment, and what did you do that you usually do? And picking one exception and repeating it intentionally can create a change. For instance, using same words, using same pauses or environments or strategies, because you are not inventing a new parenting style, you are copying your own success. Or turning problems into skills. Instead of seeing emotional struggles as flaws or problems, we treat them as skills that are under development. This shift comes from kids' skills, and you can try to reframe. For instance, instead of saying my child overreacts, you can try saying my child is learning how to handle frustration. And instead of saying I shut emotions down, you can say I'm learning how to stay present with emotions. And this is important because when something is a problem, we try to eliminate it, to fix it. But when something is a skill, we can practice and improve it, and even your relationship, your feelings will change towards the task or challenge. And you can ask yourself, what is the skill underneath this behavior? What would this look like if I were going slightly better? What's the smallest version of that skill my child and I could try? And replacing fixing with joining is another strategy. Emotion dismissing often comes from a good place. You want the distress to stop. You want to help, you want things to be okay, but the child experiences it as my feelings are wrong or too much. And this micro shift, you don't stop helping, you delay fixing just a little. For instance, you can start the conversation by saying, you seem really frustrated, that looks disappointing, pointing towards the situation or behavior. You are upset about that. And secondly, pausing, taking a break, and choosing your next move. For instance, this can be staying with them. Would you like to tell me what happened? Or gently guiding, do you want help with this? And this would help you to communicate better. Your feelings make sense, and I'm here. And this aligns with collaborative, respectful tone in explosive child. So there are a lot of many solution-focused strategies, and the next one is emotion thermometer, a concrete visual tool for helping a child identify and communicate their emotional intensity. You can even draw a simple thermometer from 0 to 10, with 0 being completely calm and 10 being the most intense feeling imaginable. And using it during calm moments. What does a 3 like for you? What does 8 feel like? What does 10 feel like? And during difficult moments, refer to it. Where are you on the thermometer right now? This gives the child a way to communicate intensity without needing to articulate it fully. And you can work with the number. For instance, you can say you are at 8. What would help you to get to a 6? This involves the child in their own regulation, and maybe numbers can help to understand it better, to see it, to visualize what might help. And emotion story time. One of most research supported and enjoyable ways to build emotional intelligence to children is reading emotionally rich stories together. Picture books that feature characters experiencing emotions and navigating them, providing children with stories for their own experience. And for instance, they see others feel these feelings. Feelings change, and there are different ways to respond. They can again use these strategies in their own life in the future. And while reading, pausing and naming emotions and asking, how do you think she's feeling here? Have you ever felt like that? What do you think she could do? Research shows that children whose parents read to them regularly, especially books with emotional content, develop significantly better emotional vocabulary and empathy. Perhaps the single most important powerful thing that parents can do for their children's emotional regulation is modeling their own behavior. Children learn far more from what they observe than they are told, and your emotional regulation or dysregulation is being constantly observed. And practical modeling looks like narrating your regulation. For instance, I'm feeling frustrated right now. I'm going to take some deep breath and showing repair. I raised my voice earlier and I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. Acknowledging emotions openly. And this again would show that there might be conflicts in the relationships. There can be challenges, and you will be modeling and showing the ways how emotions and how relationships can be repaired. You don't have to be a perfect regulator, you have to be a visible one and a repairing one. So there are some questions that you have asked earlier. For instance, you said, my child has meltdowns constantly. Is something wrong? Context matters enormously. Meltdowns at 2 are developmentally expected. At 12, they need investigation, and asking also how frequent, how intense, how long does recovery take? Does it happen across contexts or only specific ones? And seeking professional assessment if you are concerned, because early support is always better than waiting. And you asked, how do I regulate myself? When my child is dysregulated. This is the essential question. Your nervous system is the primary regulation tool, and you cannot co-regulate from dysregulation. Practical strategies include slowing your breath, deliberately lowering your voice, to almost whisper, softening your facial muscles. And these physiological shifts signal safety and are literally contagious through mirror neurons. And what about teenagers who shut down and won't talk? Don't push for conversation when they are withdrawn. Stay present without pressure. You can offer connection in nonverbal ways, uh, sitting nearby a shared activity, and creating predictable windows of connection, driving time conversations, shared meals, for instance. Research by Lauren Steinberg shows that adolescents who feel emotionally connected to parents, even if they seem to be pushing away, show significantly better outcomes. So emotional regulation develops through relationship, beginning with co-regulation in infancy. And what might disrupt developments is invalidation, adversity, technology overuse. And emotional coaching, Gottman's five-step approach, is one of most evidence-based things parents can do. And we also shared about solution-focused strategies and questions you can ask yourself and use in order to develop a relationship, to repair relationships, or to model to your kids how to solve the problems and relationship challenges. And emotion thermometer that we have discussed, and using a lot of different strategies. I hope this webinar was helpful for you. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave your questions in the comments. And see you in the next videos again. Take care.